Okay, well, we are going to start. We're happy that you joined us at 8 o'clock. We're going to start. I want to welcome you. I'm Rachel Buckman. I am the Senior Education Associate at Sefaria, and with me is SD Ellis, the Communications Associate, and we're going to be with you for the next hour to walk you through the Sefaria deep dive. If you have questions during the course of the webinar, please write them in the chat. We are going to take periodic breaks during the webinar, and SD will stop and ask your questions. She knows where we're going in our journey today. So if something is going to be coming up in a little bit, she won't ask your question. At that point, she'll wait for me to get to it. I guarantee that your questions will be answered at the end everybody will get a chance. So, so please help us with that. So Sefaria is an online library of Jewish texts, as you, I'm sure, know. And our mission is to make the core Jewish canon as accessible to as many people as possible. We do so by digitizing, translating, and interlinking Jewish texts through the generations. Our texts are topically searchable, so you can find the texts that are relevant to you, whether it's from 3,000 years ago or a few minutes ago, if somebody published a sheet. As the Torah is the treasure of the entire Jewish people, all of our texts are freely available, and we've developed tools for you to share your own voices and play your part in the Jewish textual tradition. Today's webinar we call our deep dive because we're going to dive into Sefaria's vast library and see what discoveries we can make. Whereas in the old days, we wandered through the library stacks to find treasures, today with Sefaria, we can do it even better with a click of the mouse, which lets us follow along and participate in the conversations. Today's webinar, many of you maybe have taken the 101, so we are going to try to go much deeper and give you the tools to swim around and make your own discoveries. Today, we're going to concentrate on learning how to perform advanced searches. We're going to meet some of the newest additions to our library. Some of you might have seen that we made a very big addition this week, and I'm going to walk you through that. And we're going to learn about tools and features that you might not have known before. I'm going to be working on the website. Most of what I'm doing can also be done on the app, although it might look a little different. If there's a major difference, I'll try to point it out. So with that introduction, I'm going to share my screen. I'm not going to be able to see any of you, so you're going to keep writing your comments. Your questions, you can keep writing them in the chat. SD will be seeing them and will be watching them carefully and keeping track of them so she can ask them. So the very first thing I want to do is a review from the 101. So I'm going to go quickly about how we find texts in Sefaria. I'm going to just go through the three quickest ways to find them. One is from the text sheet, which is the homepage where you're going to end up. We have all these different categories with our new explanations of the categories. So if you're not sure where something would be, you could read about it and find its category. And I could, for instance, let's say I'm looking for the Mishnah Torah, or I could just be browsing like I would in a library, and I can just click my way through, and here it is. And then I'm on the table of contents, and I could go that way. Another way that I could do it is I could, if I knew exactly what I'm looking for, I could just simply type it into the search bar. So in the top right, I have a search bar here, and I'm just trying to move all my little tools out of the way. And let's say I would like to open Judges chapter 16, verse 4. I'm just going to write it the way it's commonly written and press enter. And now I am there. And I can, I like to see it in a bilingual text. I can make all those changes with the Aleph button. So I can type in Hebrew, I can type in English, I could type in transliteration. I could have done that Shoftim, whatever I did, 16:4, and it will open up. Well, it's already open, but believe me, it would have opened up just the same. I could type in Hebrew. If I don't have a Hebrew keyboard, in the search bar, there's always a keyboard, and I click on that, and now I have my Hebrew keyboard that I could type it in Hebrew if I wish. So that's the second way. The third way, let's say I don't know exactly what I want to open, and I don't know where it is in the library because I don't even know what it is. I have our topic search. So I can do it in two ways. One is where my big cursor is in the top leftish. It says topics. I can click on that, and then I can start exploring, and I can click on values. And we have thousands of these pages. So I could just keep going and to open a topics page to look for what I'm looking for. I also, let's say I know what my topic is. Tu B'Shvat is coming up. I want to see what are the texts on Tu B'Shvat. Have people made sheets for Tu B'Shvat that might be interesting to me? I type it. I could type it actually with many spellings. It's still going to come up. And if you'll notice in the drop-down menu, there's one that has a hashtag. Hashtag means it's a topic sheet. I click on it, and I'm now on the topic sheet. A topic sheet gives me a little bit of an explanation of the topic. It gives me the top sources on Sefaria on that, and I could click on any of them and go right into the library. It also gives me sheets that have to do with Tu B'Shvat. So we did this in the 101, so I'm not going to go deep into what a topics page is. Also, I think I missed a whole big part that I usually like to say is that all of this will seem so easy as I'm clicking through. I've been with Sefaria for 5 years, so I could click through in my sleep. And I know from my own, when I learn new things, it takes me to sit in front of the computer and actually do it. And I usually forget a few of the things that were told to me. So don't worry when that happens to you. We have a few things that you can do. One is our help sheets. If you go all the way to the right, where you can see this is called the profile button. This is our account. Yours might have your initials, or if you put an image, it would have an image. You click on that, and in the drop-down menu, it says help, and you go to help sheets, a whole collection of sheets that will help you for when you forget or something that I didn't cover and you'd like to know about it. That's a great way. Another way, when you get stuck, which you will, and so please don't feel bad about that, you can send an email to hello@sefaria.org. All of these links are on the source sheet that we're going to send you sometime after this webinar. So you don't have to worry about writing those things down either. We love to hear from you. I generally answer those, and I'm happy to explain something again or a follow-up question. Okay, so we did finding a text page, typing in the search bar, and topics. But now I want to do the deep dive part. And now I want to show you that you can do something even more special. Let's say you're looking for a word and you don't want to search the way I did. You want to look within a particular book. And a lot of people ask us about this. So I'm sure one of you wants to do this. So I'm going to put the word Shemitah, and I'm going to do a search for it, but I'm not going to do a topic search. I'm going to go down the bottom one with the magnifying glass with the keyword in quotation marks is the one that I want. And I click on that. And now I have 93 sources that have the English word Shemitah spelled as I spelled it, and 90 sheets. But let's say I don't want to look through all of them because I'm not interested in all of them. I am interested in Shemitah in the Mishnah. So if you see on the right, there are filters, and I can click on the Mishnah box, and that's going to give me all 7 of the Mishnah, although it could be in this case Gemara as well. Another thing I can do is if I go all the way to the right, there's a down arrow, and I click on that, and now I see all of where all of those 7 are. If I unclick the Mishnah category, now I can individually click on these. So I would like to see, where does it say Shemitah in Pirkei Avot? And there it is. And let's say I'd also like to know, I can click as many of these as I want. I would also like to know in Jewish thought, where does it say Shemitah? And now I have the 1 from Pirkei Avot, and I have the 3 from Jewish thought. And I can click around and click around as much as I'd like. I'm going to unclick these. You want to click and unclick. I'm now back to my full 93, and I'm going to show you the sheets. I also can search through, put filters for the sheets, and these are based on topic. So here are 90 sheets that have the word Shemitah in it in English, but I'm interested in, let's say, environmentalism. So I'm going to click on that. And now these 5 sheets have to do with Shemitah and environmentalism. So I can really home in on exactly what I wanted to see. So this is how I can do a search within a particular book or within a particular sheet. I also can do this in Hebrew. And I'm going to now I'm going to type this in Hebrew. Again, I could do it with the little keyboard, but since I like to type on my own keyboard, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to write Adon Olam. And I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom, to the one with the magnifying glass and the quotation marks. I'm going to click on it. And I have 1,246 places in the library that has Adon Olam. It's not necessarily an exact search. Oh, I want to get out of, I'm in sheets. Here are some sources. So if I scroll down here, I can also, let's say I want an exact match. So I click on that, you'll see it'll filter out a whole bunch. Now I'm down to 148. And these ones are an exact search of Adon Olam. And again, on the side, I could do the same thing. Let's say I'd like liturgy, but I don't want the whole selection. I want to pick maybe Sidur Edot Mizrach. I'll click that. And this is interesting too, because it does say that there are 2, and it looks like there's only 1, but that's because we have 2 versions of this same text. And I'll show you where that comes in later on. And because it makes the searches muddy, we minimize those. So there's the one that's in Edot Mizrach, and then maybe I want an Adon Olam also in something else. I click on that just as I did before, and I can see them all. And by the way, I can just click on it. I will go right directly to the text. I'm going to undo these and show you the same thing in the sheets. Again, I have my topics that I can go to. Oh, and I forgot to show you that also I could click into a collection. So this is a collection that has something about Adon Olam. So I could choose that. And here's this sheet that's in that collection. So, so this is how I'm going to search within a book or a sheet. I didn't have this planned, but I feel like I just covered a lot of material. Esty, do we have any questions at this point?
Yeah, we just have a question come in. It's how smart is the search? When you search for Shemitah, would you have gotten the different spelling variations as well?
That's a really good question. The search is getting smarter. So let's see if we would have gotten, I'm not sure if we would have gotten for Shemitah, if we would have gotten other spellings. I do know that there is an exact search button. So like if I were here, there are exact matches. So I could click that. I don't think it's going to give me, because it's in quotation marks, I asked for that word. I don't think it's going to do that on the English. I think it's more likely to do it on the Hebrew. And that's just a guess, but we really are trying to get the search to actually do the opposite and not give too many unwanted answers. And our team is always working, our engineers are always working on refining search. I thought actually the question was going to be more like, can I rely on this the same as I can a concordance? And I would say no. I would say that it works like a concordance, but I wouldn't be as sure that it has everything. So that would be the question that you didn't ask. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to open now something from the Shemitah. Glad we went back to the Shemitah thing, because I want to open in Midrash. I'm going to pick Mechilta de Rabbi Yishmael, and I'm going to open it. This is what the text would look like when you open it. So now it takes me, I had it last in Hebrew and English. It has me there, and you can see it even is showing me from the search where all those Shemitahs are. That's actually pretty nice. So I'm going to click on the text to open the resource panel. And I pointed this out in the 101. This is something very new. I think it's really, really helpful. I want to look at the top 3 items on the top of resources. And these are all about the text and navigating the text. And we've now moved them all to the top. So about this text is going to give me a little synopsis about the text so I understand a little bit of what it is, because in Sefaria, it's very easy to land on a book that you've never heard of. I mean, all of us do that eventually. Some of us earlier than others, but we all fall on books that we've never heard of, and we want to know what they are, and we have that, and here's the date as well. This will give you the current version. This is of the Hebrew text and of the translation. And so this will always tell you what you're looking for, what you're looking at. It's important to know what you're looking at. Something else that people ask about is if you want to use these texts in any other type of, you want to put it in a source, well, not in a source sheet, but you want to put it on something that you're using. People want to know about, can they share it? Can they use it? And the answer to that, there is not one flat answer for all of Sefaria. Each and every text in Sefaria has its own license. And that information you can find in the About This Text section. So here we have the Hebrew on the top, and it says that the license is public domain, which means you can use it as you wish. We really like our sources to be in the public domain. Many of the Hebrew texts are, fewer of the translations. You can see that it's hyperlinked. I'm not going to click on this one. I'll show you another. If you don't understand what the license means, which many of us certainly don't know, like what does public domain mean? You click on it, it'll take you to explain it. Here, the translation that we're looking at is by Rabbi Shraga Silverstein. It explains what we did with it, and it gives you a license that says CC BY. Now that, most people don't know what that is. CC means Creative Commons, and that's an organization that has kind of unified or standardized the licenses. If you click on this, which I will, it's going to take me to their website, and it's going to tell me, what does CC BY mean? What does this license mean? And they also fundraise, so I'm going to close them. And it tells me exactly what it is. It tells me what I'm allowed to do, under what terms I have to give attribution. It tells me exactly what it means. And so we use pretty open licenses, but some of them do require you to attribute them. We don't have that. There are licenses that we don't allow because we do believe in everything being open. So that is how you find it out. You can find it out yourself and just follow the directions. So that's a really important thing to know. Okay, another thing, I'm going to show you a different text. Let's go to the Mishneh Torah, and let's open up here because I want to show you in the, I'm going to open it up. And I'd like to show you in the About This Text. I want to show you that oftentimes it also has the name of the author. In this case, it's Rambam. And you can tell it's hyperlinked because it makes that little line underneath. If I click on it, it will now take me to Maimonides' author page. It tells me even more about him. It'll tell me what other works are on Sefaria. And those are all hyperlinked. And it also will give me some of the more popular citations from Maimonides. Let's stay with the Mishneh Torah. Let's go back to the text itself. And there we go. And let's go back to the resource panel and do the second thing, which is the table of contents. And this is where I navigate. In the past, some of you who might be older, not older in age, but longer standing users of Sefaria might be more familiar with when we used to click up on the top. Now it's on the side and you can navigate through the paragraphs or however. In the Torah, you have more options for navigating. And so if I open that up and go to the table of contents, I have the chapters. I also have the Torah portions. Some of you might notice that we don't have the aliyot anymore. Those are coming back. They promised me very soon that you would be able to click on the third aliyah of Breshit, but we don't have that at the moment. So depending on the structure of the text that you're using, the table of contents will look different, but the table of contents is always on the side and a great way to navigate through. And the last thing of the three on the top is translations. And this is where it will tell me what my current translation is. And then I can also change translations. So I might have a preferred translation. I might want to compare translations. You can switch back and forth. I just go to select translation, and now it changed it to a different translation. In the Torah, we have many, many languages. You could have French and Italian and Polish and Yiddish. So you could have a lot of fun with translations. I'm going to stop again for comments or questions, Esty.
Yeah. So first, just a preliminary note. We have some questions just about the audio. So if you don't mind just having the mic very
yeah, sorry. We'll try this.
You're all good. All good. Some questions that came up, but I know that we'll get to shortly, will be about the advantages of signing in and having an account, as well as seeing all the connections, and maybe we'll get to that with the visualization. So I just want to mention them, that we'll revisit them in this
Well, I
session.
will talk about the having an account. So having an account, first of all, having an account is super easy, fast, and free. It's just you sign up, you give your email address, you make a password, and you're done. There are most things, I mean, certainly accessing the library you can do without. The biggest thing that you need an account for is if you want to make source sheets, which we're not talking about making source sheets on this webinar. But if you want to do that, you have to have an account. If you want to take notes, you'll see on the side here, we're not really going to talk about it. Maybe we will, probably not. You can click on notes and you can leave. These are private notes just for yourself. And you'll be able to see them anytime you come back to the library. That you need to have an account for. Let's see, what else do you need an account? If you do something like Chavruta or our new Beit Midrash, when we do that, those things you need an account. Oh, also saving texts, you need an account. So like if I had been, let's say I went to the Shemitah, back to our topics page. Let's say I want to save this for later. Here's my bookmark on the right, and it says save Leviticus 25:2. I click on it. That only works if I'm logged in. And then up on the top right, next to my profile page, I have my saved history, and I would see it there. And I also have history where this is something else. You have to be logged in, and you can see where I've been. And here you can see these are the texts that we opened up even tonight. So, so history, saving texts, source sheets, those are the biggies, and the reasons why you would want an account. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next thing, which I would like to show you some new texts that I'm so excited. You are the first group of people that we've gotten to really show our new Talmud acquisition. As some of you might know, there actually are two Talmuds. When we talk about Talmud, we're most often talking about the Babylonian Talmud, the Bavli. That's our default. And we've always had also the second one, which is the Jerusalem Talmud, the Yerushalmi. We've always had both, but we have just upped its value to all of us. And I'll tell you in what ways. So, so it's going to default, when you go to Talmud, it's going to default to Babylonian. And here is the Babylonian Talmud. I'm going to click on Jerusalem. That's going to be the Jerusalem Talmud, the Yerushalmi, however you want to call it. And so what's new about it is that it has a complete English translation, which is not so readily available. This is the Guggenheimer translation. And we have, also I want to say we have a sheet that introduces, and we'll talk about all of these things that I'm talking about. Esti's going to put the link to that in the chat. So you might want to, if you want to click on it while you're in the chat, you can go back and look at it later. So the main attractions in our Jerusalem Talmud is a complete English translation, and we're working on French. It is vocalized. Here, I'll open it up, meaning that, I will put it in bilingual, meaning that it has vowels, which is incredible. That's a really hard thing to come by. So we're very excited about that. A fully vocalized text, which also the language in the Yerushalmi and the Jerusalem Talmud is even more difficult. So having the vocalization, having the vowels is really helpful, even for people who are quite knowledgeable in this. So that's a great thing. Also, there are different structures of organizing it, and we have three. We have three structures. So you can search by chapter within a tractate, and then we have the Venice manuscript, their structure, and the Vilna. And if you know anything about this, you'll be very happy. If not, you don't have to worry about it. You can just stick with the chapter. And so that's something else. Another thing really exciting and important, and this is the whole beauty of Sefaria, it is linked throughout our library. So this is, I'm going to answer that question that I wasn't answering. I'm going to answer it based on the Yerushalmi, and it certainly applies to everything. The whole magic of Sefaria is that all of our digitized texts are linked to each other. So if I'm looking at this section, I can see all of the commentaries that we have. And so this is commentary on the Jerusalem Talmud. And we have added, that's another thing that's great about this, we have the standard Hebrew commentaries. You can open this up and now you have the commentary right next to you. Besides the commentaries, you also have other things that are mentioned. If it mentioned the Tosefta, or if the Tosefta is mentioned, you can open that up. All of the things, all of these connections make it so much easier to go deeper into the text. And we linked the Yerushalmi with the Tanakh, with the Bavli, the Babylonian Talmud, with Midrashim and halachic works. So I think those of you who are interested in studying the Yerushalmi will find that to be really helpful. We've also topic tagged them so that they will turn up in topic searches. So that's also a great thing, that when you do a topic search, you will also find these texts. Here's another really fun thing, is we have manuscripts. So I think you're gonna like this. I'm so excited. We have two manuscripts, the Leiden manuscript, which is from 1289. And you can get up close to this manuscript on every single page of the Yerushalmi. So I'm gonna show you again how we did that, because you might wanna do it. So on the side, it says manuscripts, and you click on it, and that was the Leiden manuscript. The other manuscript we have is the Bamberg, the Venice one. This is from 1523. And look at this. It's beautiful. And you can look up close every single page. So this is awesome. So you can enjoy that. So that is the Yerushalmi in a nutshell. Oh, and another thing that it has, that it's linked with, let's go up here, somewhere up here, if it mentions a rabbi, here we go. Just like in the Babylonian Talmud and the Mishnah, we have a special lookup for the rabbis. So here is a rabbi mentioned, and I can double click, and now I have a little bio about him. It works in Hebrew and it works in English, here in English. Okay. So all of these things that work for all of our texts also work for the Jerusalem Talmud. So this is something that is not, I don't even know if there's any other place that has it. It's very, very exciting. And we are very excited about it. We hope you will be too. Now I'm going to show you something really fun. I want to just point out a couple more texts that you might not have noticed. Since I'm thinking ahead and thinking of Purim, I'm going to open up in the Tanakh, I'm going to open up the book of Esther for reading on Purim. And I'm going to click on the sidebar, and I'm going to go to the About section, which tells me the current version, which is very nice, kind of basic, doesn't give me that Purim vibe. But if I click down further, I have alternate source versions. And this is sometimes the case with a text. Even on the Hebrew, we might have more than one. And we have this very fun thing as I scroll through the other stuff. And it says Megillat Esther Purim edition. And if I select that, I get that, which is very fun. And I can also do this if I would like in English, because I can go back. First of all, I'm going to put it back into bilingual, and I'm going to go to the translations. And now in the translations, I can go scroll down and look at this. We have an emoji Megillah in English. And now I have both the Hebrew and the English with the emojis. That can be awfully fun. And when you bring your phone or whatever to your Megillah reading and you open up your emoji Megillah, you can make friends with the kids next to you and show them how cool you are. Okay, moving from Purim to Passover, let's talk Haggadahs. So our Haggadahs are in the liturgy section. We have Sidurim, we have Haggadahs. We also, if this were high holidays, we would be talking about Machzors. We have all of this in our liturgy section. So in the Haggadah section, we have two Haggadahs, the Ashkenaz Haggadah and Neidot HaMizrach, and we have commentaries. And this is a really special thing that also you won't find anyplace else, because we have a good friend at Sefaria whose name is Rabbi Mark Greenspan. He was the rabbi at, he's now retired as the rabbi from Ocean something. Here, I'll tell you in a second. Oceanside Jewish Center. And he took it upon himself over many, many years to every year for Passover to translate a new commentary on the Haggadah. And then he graciously donated them all to Sefaria for you to use and for me to use. And so, well, it is in English, but there it is. So, so we have so many that he did, and it's really, really wonderful. If any of you happen to be people who like to translate things and you would like to donate a translation to us, please let us know at hello@sefaria.org. We'd be happy to work with you. But look at all of these different Haggadah commentaries that are translated for you. So that's a great thing to play around with as you're preparing for your Seders. One more place that you can find texts, if you're looking for something to study, there's a third tab on the top. We have texts, which we talked about. We have topics, which we talked about, and we have community, which we did not talk about. So let's talk about it. So in the community section, in the top part, we often have 4 sort of blocks, each with a sheet that we recommend that you might be interested in. One of them is always on the week's Torah portion. So they change not every single day, but every 2 or 3 days. Sometimes we have something having to do with the calendar. So this one, because we just had Rosh Chodesh Tevet, we have the new month. This one's about Tevet. And because we'll have other things later on. We're talking a lot about Shemitah this year. So we have a lot of Shemitah sheets. When we get close to Tu B'Shvat, we'll have Tu B'Shvat sheets. So that's a good place. We have a Talmud section that will give you something to learn. And then often we have something that's just like to learn about Sefaria. So actually, this is the sheet that we linked for you. This is another place to find it. This is our sheet that talks about all those things that I just went through, explains why this is so terrific, what you can learn with it, how you can get started. So all of these things are on the community page. In addition, if you scroll down more, you'll see recently published sheets. So if you want to kind of see what are people publishing today and yesterday, or even look at this, this is 59 minutes ago, 24 minutes ago, somebody published this sheet. So if you want to see what's new and happening, you can scroll through, and there's like an infinite scroll. So you could spend lots and lots of time there. So this is really, really great places to find interesting material to study. While we're on the topic of looking for things to study, let's go back to our homepage and let's talk about the Parsha. This week's Torah portion is Vayigash. It's always on the side. We have learning schedules. Always we have the Torah portion, the Haftorah, and we have the page of Daf Yomi. If you click on all learning schedules, now we have even other ones that you might be interested in doing something daily or weekly. Let's click on the Torah portion. And here we are. And I'm going to open the resource panel. And let's look at things that I can now do. Besides, we've talked in the 101 a lot about the related text, the commentaries, how to open up those panels. I'm not going to go over that again. It's 101, unless somebody wants to stay on at the very, very end. I can take care of that. But let's look at some of the things below. So we have sheets that are created by Sefaria users. You too could be one of them if you make a sheet. It defaults to being private, but we welcome you to make it public and share it with everybody. And here we have on the side sheets that you might be interested in. I'm going to open up this one that says 3 steps of prayer. You can see, let's see, some of them, people are starting to put little summaries that it's very, very helpful for people who are looking to know what it's about. Here you can see the person's tags, tefillah, prayer, but I could click on it and now it opens to the place that's connected. Here's 4418. It opens to that. It's not the top of the page. I can go up to the top, zoom up to the top. I can choose how I want to view it. Maybe all of these sources are in English only. If I'd like, I can set it to, well, believe me, I can, there it is. I can set it to bilingual and now I'll have all of those same sources with a bilingual text. I'm going to put it back because it's going to make it awfully long if I do that. Okay, so I can see what Elliot Kaplowitz had to say on this verse. And this is a nice one because it's got a lot of commentary on it and it would send me through something very interesting. So that is a place that you can find interesting material. Another place that you can find something to study is in web pages. You can see that there are a lot of web pages connected to this verse. I'm going to click on it. And these are blogs that use our linker. They connect to us, we connect to them. And you can see in the parentheses is how many entries they have. So you can see that there is so much material from a wide variety of sources. I'm going to show you Rabbi Sachs's website. And here, this one he did on Vayigash and he did the space between. This was a very nice blog post. It takes you to his site and you'll see that there's a recording. You could listen to it. You can read it. It's linked to us. This is what I mean where this blog links to us. We link to them. And each time when you're going through, you can open it up and you could get the full text. You could click read more and get it in context. So web pages, lots and lots of material in the web pages. You could have a lot of fun learning there. I'm going to skip down one more to manuscripts because we also have Tanakh manuscripts. We have Talmud manuscripts, the Rishalmi manuscripts, and we have our base text in Hebrew is Leningrad Codex. You can read about that if you Google it, and we can click on that, and here again, we see a beautiful manuscript, and you can see, look at the detail that you can see on this. Otherwise, I think you have to try to go to St. Petersburg and see if they'll let you in. And I'm not sure that they will. So that is also very fun. Another thing that you can do, let's say you would like to hear this verse chanted with Torah Tab, with Torah cantillation, you can click on Torah readings. It will give you, I'm not going to press it because it's not set up for you to hear it, but you will hear a person chant just this verse. The verses are not connected, but if you'd like to hear an individual verse, you can do that. And then the last thing before I stop for the next set of questions is the topics pages. So we talked about looking for a topic and finding sources. This is the other way around. Now I can look at this. I have this verse because I'm studying maybe the Torah portion, and I'm wondering what interesting topics go along with it. So here you can see that there are 5 topics. I'm going to click on it. Judah and Joseph. There's a topic for every Torah portion. So that's clicked. Judah, Joseph, Genesis. So I'm going to click Judah because this parsha talks about Judah. And now I'm going to go to Judah's topics page. And on the side, I'm going to see who he's related to, his children, his descendant, his parents, and different relationships. All of these are linked. All of these have their own topics page. So again, you could just keep going and going and going. Here you have sources having to do with Judah. You have sheets having to do with Judah. And you got there, well, I clicked around a lot, okay? Okay, you got there here from the topics on the side. So any text that you're using, let's say you look at something in the Talmud and you sort of like, well, that's nice, but I don't know how it relates to anything bigger. You could go to the topics, see what topics are connected to it. Most of these things, everything except for Torah readings and not always manuscripts, but all of these things are on the side of every book that you are going to open in Sefaria. The Torah readings obviously only in Torah, the manuscripts only for the texts that we have manuscripts for. And I think I mentioned them all: Tanakh, Talmud Bavli, and Talmud Yerushalmi. And I will stop for questions.
Thank you, Rachel. We have lots of excitement and questions in the chat. So thank you all for putting in your reactions and questions. One question I want to spotlight right now is there a way to see what transliterations are available, or if we have transliterations in addition to translations?
Right. So basically we don't. I think that maybe the only thing we have a transliteration for is Mourner's Kaddish. But in general, we do not have transliterations yet. Who knows?
Awesome. And then we have some questions about the process of adding new text, and I'll sort of address it from two different directions. One is if a Sefaria user wants to know when a new text will be coming or how to suggest a text, that's one question that we'll hopefully get to. And then another question that's sort of related is, are all the texts on Sefaria in the public domain and versus not?
Okay, so I'm going to take that one first. So again, it depends. It goes text by text. So what you need to do is when you are looking at a text, you go to the About This Text, you click on that, and it will tell you the license. So here, the Hebrew text is CC by SA. And if you happen to be like most people and not know what CC by SA means, you click on it, it will take you to the Creative Commons. They clearly define what it is. And this and the Koran, the translation that we're looking at right here is the Koran Jerusalem Bible. That's CC by NC. This is, you have to give attribution, and it's non-commercial. That's the most restrictive license that we use generally on Sefaria. Anything that wants something more restrictive, we do not put on. And that actually is the reason why some of the texts that you might like, we don't have, because we don't have permission, copyright permission, to put them on. And we're always working with people to add. When you want to suggest a text, on the sidebar, on the resource panel, there's something called feedback. And you click on feedback and you click select type, and you can request a translation. You can request, actually, I thought you could request a text. So if you want to request a text, you can also write to hello@sefaria.org. We would love to hear what you would like. At this point, we have so much of the basic text that most reasons why we don't have the text that you're looking for is because we just don't have yet a way to get it. We don't have either. If something is very old and it's currently not under copyright anymore, maybe we don't have a scan of it that we can, easily digitize it. And we're not going to be the process of digitizing is expensive, and we're not going to do every text. If it's a translation, it's often because we have not found yet one that we can use due to copyright limitations. We still are interested in hearing what text you want, but those are basically going to be the answers that we're going to probably be giving you. And we are always working on finding what are the next texts that we want to start working on. And then we, raise money for them. Sometimes we have to, we don't own the copyrights, but sometimes we will work with a publisher to encourage them to make it open and that we can use it. And that requires, they are owed to be paid something for that. And so we fundraise, that's part of what we fundraise for. I forgot the earlier questions.
I think you answered. It was like a twofold question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'd like to show you a few more tools that we have on the side. So we've talked about the top three, about the text and navigating. We didn't talk about related text because that's 101. we talked about all of the things under resources. So let's get to tools. I want to just pick a few of them. Dictionaries. So depending on the text, it depends on what dictionaries you'll have, but let's just pick something here. When I have the resource panel open, I can double click on a word, and I can, on the root word of it will come up in the dictionary. That's one way to find a definition of a word. Also, I could just type here. I'm holding my microphone so it doesn't touch me, but I'll try to use, and I need two hands to type. But let's say I want to, actually, I don't want to type. I could just copy and paste. I can just copy this and paste it right in, and find it in the drop-down menu. And now here I have another way to find a definition. A third way to do it is from the resource panel. I can click on dictionaries. And again, well, it's because I clicked that before, and I get to the same place. So that's from within the text. If I would like to just open the dictionary, I can go to my text page and scroll down to the reference category. And you'll see our dictionaries. I think our most popular are the Jastrow and the Klein. And so I can open up, let's say, open up the Jastrow dictionary. I can search it by typing. Again, I'm not going to do it. It's what you saw before. It'll have a drop-down menu, and I'll click on it. Or I can browse by letter, and I can just go this way. And the same thing works for the Klein. So those are different ways you can use the dictionaries. This is something that's a little different on the apps. If you are on iOS, so you have an iPhone, if you long press and then highlight a word, there's a pop-up above it that says define, which you can press to open the definition for that word. In Android, most of the things are the same between iOS and Android. This is something where it's different. I forgot to mention that I'm not in any way the technical person, so I don't really know why at all, why it's more difficult in Android, but it is. So if you're an Android user, as I am, what you would want to do if you want to go into the Jastrow or the Klein or any of the dictionaries, you would use the mobile web, which means you'd go to your browser on your phone and you type in www.sefaria.org, and you go, that's basically getting the website on your phone. And so you can do it that way. I showed you already someplace else. I showed you how you could find out those rabbi biographies. So I'm going to skip that, but I am going to show you another really, let's see, where am I going to go to? I'm going to go to chapter 32, and I'm going to show you another really nice feature. But let's say I'd like to see, now we know that connected texts we see side by side. So if I want the commentary, if I want to read Rashi on this, it's connected in our database. And so I could just click on it and it will open up on the side. But what happens if I want to open something side by side that's not connected in our library, in the database? So in this case, here's the golden calf, and I want to compare what the narrative says about what happened in the golden calf incident. And I want to compare it, what Aaron says when Moses challenges him and said, hey, what went on here? And then Aaron gives his accounting. That might be very interesting to compare the two, but they're not connected in our database. So I want to be able to show them side by side. So in the resource panel, it says compare text. I click compare text. Now I have a whole new library page. Click Tanakh, I click Exodus, and let's say I want 32:23, because I looked that up before. And now it goes by itself, 32:23, and here it is. And I can put them next to each other. I can compare, then I can ask the question, well, why did he change it? All those kinds of things. So that's a very fun feature. Very useful. Also on the side, we have notes, which I talked about. And this is, I guess I probably have used this before in a demonstration because I see that I wrote a note. This is what it looks like when you have written a note. Again, I have to have an account. I have to be logged in. It says that I wrote a note, and this is probably Me? Oh, yep. So here's my note. It reminded me that I would like to compare this to Exodus 32:23. So I can write a note. I can write another note. I can add a note. I can go to my notes. So that is there for you. If I'd like to share this text with somebody, I want to put it on my Facebook page. I want to WhatsApp it to somebody. I want to whatever. I click on share and it gives me the link. I could also click in the browser, but I could also share right to Facebook, to Twitter, to email. So that is a nice little feature. And my last one, well, I talked about feedback already. There are lots of things. If you find a mistake, we'd love to know it. We've made our texts even better. There could have been like a scanning error. Many of those have been caught by other Sefaria users who let us know. We send it to our correction team. They fix it, and we're all better for it. So the last one here is advanced. If I click on that, I can add a translation. If you have a translation, again, if you're a person who translates big pieces of text and you would like to donate that, you don't have to add it all yourself. I will get you in touch with our person for that. But we have these Sefaria community translations that have been made by, which is like if there's something, let's say there's something that's a little piece that hasn't been translated, you'd like to add it, you click add translation. Now this isn't going to really let me do it because this is a locked translation. So you cannot edit the JPS or any of these published ones, but you can edit something that hasn't been translated, or you could, oh, there it is. It just was slow. There it is. Okay, it's not going to let me, it could do it. This will do it to the Sefaria translation. If I want to add a translation here, I would add it, press save. If you see something in a Sefaria community translation and you don't agree with it, you think it should be translated differently, you can edit it yourself. If you write us about it, we'll tell you, please edit it yourself. So look at the source of it. If it's, if it's a published work, we're actually only will edit it if it's a mistake, like a scanning error or something like that. But if you think that there's something that's wrong, and people do all the time, and we fix things all the time, please let us know. You also could add a connection, but I'm not going to actually do that right now because I want to have time for questions. And if we have time, I want to show you two more really cool things.
We have a question about printing.
Oh, great.
Yeah. You want to show us?
Yeah, you'd like to print a text. So let's open something. It's going to be on the side. And well, to print, you can use your computer to print. And that will print it. You can use your whatever you use. If you make a source sheet, you can print a source sheet. I could show you how to do that. You also can download text about this text. You can download, you select your version that you want to download, and then you select your format, and then you download. We do not download to PDFs. So we're basically an online thing, and that's the technical term. And so we don't have PDFs. But if I wanted to print something, you would just use your regular browser and print. If I want to do a specific small thing, you can copy and paste, put it into a doc and print it. If I want to make a source sheet, I can easily add it to a sheet. I would just click, here's this verse or whatever it is that I want. I would highlight it and I would click add to sheet, and it will add it to my sheet. And then from a sheet, I'll show you, the sheets are on your profile. We're not really talking about sheets, but I'll show you anyway. I'll show you on my test sheet. So here's where I've made sheet things. Actually, this is our new editor. And here you have print. You can print it and you can export it to Google Docs, play around with it more, and then print it. So those are all different ways to print. Yes. Anything else?
Great, thanks. Let's see you had mentioned that there was a couple other things.
So two things, and no group has ever made it to this far, so I'm really happy. We have something called the Torah Tab. And you'll find this in the footer at the bottom of the page. And if you click on the Torah tab, what it will do is if I install it, I would install it for Chrome. I work in Chrome. It means that every time I open a new tab, it's gonna, instead of getting like, okay, when I open a new tab, I get this. Instead of getting this, I could get a random text from Sefaria that would just pop up. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to, let's do it. Let's see. So all you do is you do this, you add it to Chrome, because this is really fun. So I want to add the extension. Okay, I've got it. So now when I open a new one, there it is. I also can choose what I would like if I want it to be, it's set at random. So let's open a new tab. Open a new tab. Oh, wait, I want to keep it. I want to open a new tab. There we go. And here's something else. Or I can choose any of these. Let's say I always want it to open to the Haftorah. Then it will do that. Anyway, you can put it on, you can take it off, you can have a lot of fun. And the second thing that I'm going to show you, I'm going to go back to where I was. The second thing is our visualizations. And this is really, again, shows the interesting aspect of digitizing the text. It can do all kinds of things. Often we show this link explorer, which will connect, it'll show you these lines. Every line is a connection from the Tanakh to Talmud. I will show you that in a second if you want to hang on, but I want to show you something else. This is the words sunburst, and this shows you the relationship in size of texts one to another. Oh, I didn't try it before. I did tell them that I was having problems with this before, and I thought that they were going to fix this. Okay. Maybe the other one just would have taken longer, and I didn't have the patience because it's 8:58. So here is on the top, we have all the books of the Tanakh. And on the bottom, we have all of the tractates of the Talmud. I can, and each single one of these, well, I can't get to single ones, are connections between. But let's say this is way too big. But although it is interesting to see how much the Talmud quotes the Torah, those are the blue ones. But let's say I'd like to see Genesis. And so now we have all the chapters of Genesis on the top and all of the tractates on the bottom. But let's say I'd like to do just Genesis and Shabbat. So now I have something that's a little more reasonable, but it would make me wonder, I'm thinking like, hey, look at here in 17, chapter 17, it's quoted a lot. I wonder what that is. So every one of these lines is a different connection. So if I'd like to, I can click on it. Guess what do you think it is? So this is the link in the Talmud. I can go to Tanakh and now I get my Genesis link. And so I guess they're talking about circumcision. And so you have didn't know that was coming. Learning Torah is always fun and adventurous. So again, you can let's click something different. I don't want to end there. So here we have another link, and here I can see what the connection is. And it is, okay, so there's a connection between Shabbat and Genesis. So you can play around with that. Let's see if we can get to the other one. I think I just wasn't patient enough. Let's see if I can, I'm 1 minute over. Feel free to, I guess we should do our goodbye while I do this. Why don't you do that, Esty, and anyone who wants to stay on, I'll try to show you one more visualization.
Yeah, we want to thank you for joining us. And just as a reminder, we will send out a recording of today's webinar, as well as a link to all past webinars. And we also periodically update that with information about upcoming webinars. So if you enjoyed learning with us tonight, we hope you'll join learning with us again in the future. Rachel, did you want to mention about the sustainers and
yes, okay. I did. And actually that other one wasn't working. That happens sometimes too. If you find that happens, you write to me at hello@sefaria.org. I will let the engineers know. I did want to mention that Sefaria is a nonprofit, and we love the support that we get from our Sefaria fans. We have many different ways. We have a sustainer program where you can make a monthly donation, an ongoing monthly donation. We have one-time donors. We could sponsor a day of learning. And earlier today we were sponsored, but maybe it has changed, but your sponsorship would go on the top of the page here. People do it for yard sites, people do it for simchas, people do it to honor your favorite teacher, all kinds of things. And we also have a store which has all kinds of goodies that you can show your Sefaria love. You can link to this from the bottom, and we have all kinds of fun goodies. You could have a Sefaria sweatshirt. I happen to like the onesie, but all kinds of different things. And this helps to support Sefaria as well. We appreciate you coming to our webinar. I will stay on if people have questions, any ones that I didn't answer yet. And really, I anticipate questions to come. Don't feel silly about asking a question that was already discussed. You couldn't possibly have absorbed everything that I just ran through. So feel free to ask, and ask often.